So we have U.S. fertility rates at all-time lows. So you can hit the subscribe, like button, share comments. But U.S. fertility rates at all-time lows. So Zero Head just put out an article, saying that the fertility rate is at all-time lows in the U.S. And other countries too, but this is specifically a U.S. fertility rate. It says for over a century, the fertility rate in the U.S. has reflected sweeping demographic and societal changes. So they show a map from the early 1900s to now, if it going up. For early 1900s, the fertility rate was going down into the 1930s. It went up from the 1930s to the 1960s. Then from the 1960s to the 1980s, it went down to the lowest in the 1980s. And 1980s is stayed steady until like the 2000s. And in 2010, it took right after the 2008 recession, it looked like it keeps going down. So why are fertility rates falling? Economic pressures, access to contraception, shifts in social norms, delayed marriage and childbirth, and more women pursuing higher education and careers. This broader trend reflects a transformation in how, when, and if Americans choose to have kids. So, how many minutes in? 3? Between 2005 and 23, fertility declined for women under 35, while increasing for those 35 and older. The demographic shift reflects later life planning and improvements in maternal health options for older women. So we got 19,000 views for this article, about a little bit more than 19,000 views and 230 comments. So the comment section. Looks like the best comment we have right now, 50-0. On the comment upvote game, upvotes 50. No votes, no disvotes 0. Women came into the workforce. This is by a commenter named Mine. Well, I never heard that name. With MYNE. So women came into the workforce, doubling the labor pool. Wages stagnated or declined. Interesting. Women came into the workforce, doubling the labor pool. Wages stagnated or declined. Women can't find providers because they compete with them. Interesting. Never heard anyone put it like that. Women can't find providers because they compete with them and drop their wages, now forcing both to work. Wow. So, and that's just 1/3 of the comment. Now, and then he said, neither can afford a nest for a multitude of reasons, including financialization of nests and liberalization of who can buy from anywhere, increasing competition and thus prices. Additionally, nanny zoning, HOA, and other regulations in most areas restrict the type of nest and increase the cost of carry to new highs. Childcare is an expense that never existed but now does. Wow, interesting that he said it was expense that never existed but now does. And some people, childcare, I've heard childcare more than A month could be more than, especially for a kid that's between 1 and 5 before they go off to kindergarten. It could be more than $1,000. I mean, more than 2,000. Yeah, it could be close to more than people's rent, more than 1,500 a month, more than people's rent, more than people's mortgages. I've heard it close to 2,000 a month for childcare, anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000. I've heard that those numbers. The environment is a night and day difference to post-World War II. It can be best described as captivity. Most animals fail to breed in captivity. Why are people having children? Wow, what a comment. Then somebody by the name, commenter named Blue Q responds, everything that he put Democrats, but he put DEI in capitalized letters in the front. Everything the Democrats stand for causes birth rate decline. They want you gay, gender confused, addicted, aborted, divorced, scared from having children. 29-0 on his comment. And Charles K responded 11. He got 11-2 on this. So when I say 11-2, that means 11 upvotes, 2 downvotes. I'll say the upvote number first and the downvote number second for the comment. If you manage to have children, they would be chemically castrating them and or mutilating their genitals so you would not have grandchildren. Only applies to white people who are to be replaced. Wow. That's what he said. So let's go down to some more comments. We have a comment by JJ Pettigrew. Agreed. Used to be in the 50s and 60s, the man could work, the women could tend to family. Now both need to work to make ends meet. Yeah. And that's for 95% of people. And then he said very similar to the cost of college versus starting salaries. Used to be annual tuition was about 25% of an expected starting salary. Now about even. So yeah, that's the thing. Both, unless you would do making, I would say, even if you would do making, especially if you in one of these, metropolitan cities that have, the major cities that have, the major professional sports scenes, basketball, football, NFL, NBA, MLB. If you're one of these major cities that have these teams, especially all 3 of these teams, yeah, unless you make, even if you make 6 figures, if you have kids, yeah, if you make low 6 figures, yeah, you probably still gonna have to your wife, your spouse wife, still gonna have to work. Only way she doesn't work and get lucky to not have to work is if you're lucky enough to bring in a quarter mil a year or more. Really, even low 6 figures is not gonna really cut it. You might have to be more closer to mid or even more mid 6 figures. And think about it, that's only 5%, less than 10% of dudes, 5% of dudes making that from a job and or a business. So we move on. We got 9-3. Consumerism, he said. Consumerism and feminism are the culprits. Both pussify man to a point of hopelessness. Wow, consumerism and feminism are the culprits. Both pussify man to the point of hopelessness. Wow. And feminism was pushed by whom? Question mark, keep going. Wow. Oh Sweet Jesus, premium member one, only premium member I see. So premium member means you pay a membership fee of $30 for the site to comment. But nobody else has been a premium member that I see as far as the first one that popped up. Cost of a first premium commenter that popped up. It highlights it in yellow that they're premium. Cost of a 4-year college versus starting salary. Data point is exactly on point. You could work part-time and pay it almost entirely. Now you graduate with the house size mortgage. Yep. And then someone responded they graduated in 86. Total 4-year cost was $25,000. Now it is over $80,000. He said he was blessed with his people paying his, but I knew a guy who worked summers and part-time in school and paid his way through. Difficult but possible then, not now. And student loan availability drove the cost up. Universities loved it. He said universities loved it. Wow. Universities market themselves like resorts, sucking up federal funds. Cost is never considered. See what other comments we got. By Fly on My Wall, 7-0 in his comments. He said raising children after having them is work. Teaching them the right way to solve problems, become independent, nurturing them, and making sure they are properly fed and clothed is serious work. The nuclear family or extended nuclear family has been the bedrock of human success and human evolution for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. That's what the banksters hate. Banksters hate independent people. They want people dependent on them. Wow. You're equating work with money as compensation, which is fine, but not necessarily an optimal use of a woman's or man's time. So we got another comment, 23-0. And then we got another one right after that, 21-1. And we might just pause it for right there and do a part 2. So it says if you want to really be frightened by these numbers, user 262626, that's his name, separate the fertility rates by the socioeconomic groups most and least likely to raise children that would be positive contributors. Likelihood of drug abuse, likelihood of criminal records, medium income, etc. Then Kuzcali responded, no society has ever survived low fertility or recovered from hedonism. Our friendship and support for the satanic, psychopathic, genocidal synagogue would cost us our entire future. Wow. Then someone else responded, he had 21-0. Somebody responded 6-0 on the upvote of the comment versus downvote 0. You notice they present fertility rate by race or ethnicity. Among white people, that number is substantially less. The shift will come well before they are saying. Interesting, but it seems that game may be over. Let's see what else we can find real quick. Deflator, somebody by name Deflator got 20-0. He said a young man could do everything right, get a decent job, work his ass off, save a lot of money, find a nice girl, buy a house, have a baby, and bada bang, bada boom, bada bang, bada boom. He's out on his ass. Courts are stacked with nut job radical feminists that want to punish man, any man. Wow. He said nut job radical feminists. Wow. All right. We'll stop it right there, man. Maybe we'll continue. This is interesting article to read in the comment section on Zero Hedge about lowest fertility rates ever for the U.S. Article came out on the 17th, June 17th. But that's what it is, man. Comment, like, subscribe. If you want me to go over any other possible, articles, whatever, holla.